All right. Well, good morning and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the very first World's Most Exciting Classroom. My name is Joe Grabowski from Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants, and I will be your host for many of the events as we travel around the world on the beautiful Oosterschelde, following Darwin's Voyage of the Beagle. We are here live right now in Plymouth in the UK. In fact, let me just do a quick swing around here and show you where we are right now in Plymouth Harbour, where Charles Darwin left on the Voyage of the Beagle. And tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. UK time, we are going to leave the harbour and the DARWIN200 voyage will be underway. Now, we have a lot to go through today. We are going to take a walkthrough of the ship. We're going to introduce the world's most exciting classroom. Who knows who we're going to see as we're walking up and down and get to meet on the ship, and then use that chat sidebar because we want your questions. We want to know what you're thinking about and what you want to know about this journey. But now I'm going to switch camera views here, and I'm going to bring in Stuart McPherson, who is the expedition leader of the world's most of DARWIN200, which the world's most exciting classroom is part of. So bear with me while I switch our camera view, and then we're going to hear from Stuart before we start to make our way through the ship. So here we go. Stu, you are on.
Well, it's lovely to see you all today. Welcome to the Oosterschelde, a 100-year-old tall ship that literally tomorrow, in a matter of, about 16 hours, sets sail from here in Plymouth, a historic city here in the south of the UK, following Charles Darwin's journey. So in 1831, old Charles Darwin was here, desperate to get going and set out to explore the world on the Voyage of the Beagle. Very, very quickly, we want to give you an overview of today of the whole program of activities that we've got planned coming up. We've got so much to tell you. Just so everyone understands and knows, the DARWIN200 project has 3 quick objectives. The first is training the world's top 200 conservationists from countries around the world, creating the world's most exciting classroom that we're going to talk about in a second. And last, but by no means least, research projects that we're going to beam out from the ship as it goes around the world. And we really, really, really want you to be part of all of these 3. Let's have a little walk along the ship and we'll talk about the classroom. So, this is the beautiful Oosterschelde. It's a 50-meter long 3-masted schooner. It's one of the most beautiful historic ships afloat. We're really fortunate to be working together. And this ship, for the next 2 years, is going around the world following Charles Darwin's journey. Our world's most exciting classroom events will be live from this ship, but also from our Darwin studio, which we've constructed recently. If we have a little look along the ship, you'll see it used to actually be a freight ship. Many people don't realize, but tall ships like this were actually into use well into the 20th century. This one was used up until 1988, when it was restored and converted into this beautiful vessel we see today. But yeah, up until 1988, it was sailing around the world carrying freight. So the world's most exciting classroom. What we've got planned is 100 events, one every week for roughly 2 years as the ship goes around the world. We're going to be beaming live experiments, activities, projects, research investigations that we want you to take part in. We've got live interviews with conservationists and question and answer sessions and a whole range of research projects with some really, really cool prizes. If you come down a little bit further along the ship, we've actually got 8 research projects that we're going to be doing live as the ship goes around the world. 4 when it's sailing and 4 when we're in land. The 4 when we're sailing are as follows. We've got a little data box over there, which you might be able to see down there, that little grey box. That records sea surface temperature, water temperature, and takes photos. So every single week there'll be a new photo uploaded by satellite to our map that you can check out and be part of. Pretty much every single day, we're going to be uploading new data about the big animals that we see. We're surveying for megafauna like whale sharks, sea turtles, basking sharks, and manta rays. We're looking for seabirds. We've got a full-time researcher documenting the birds we see, particularly endangered species like albatrosses. We're going to be looking for whales, dolphins, and porpoises, as well as pinnipeds. That's seals and sea lions and their relatives. So we're going to be looking at all of that wildlife and and making video clips and putting on live that would love you to take part in and see. We're also doing a really interesting project with microplastics, and as we go around the world, our map will have different tags showing green, orange and red levels for the amount of plastics that we find in the oceans, and we'll see if it corresponds with the stories you hear concerning the gyres in the oceans that concentrate the plastics in the middle of the great oceans. And last but not least, as the ship's sailing, we've got the fourth research project, which is really interesting. Darwin studied ballooning spiders. So these are little spiderlings on land that release a thread and fly up into the atmosphere and come down and land in different parts of the world. Well, we are actually going to be recreating some of Darwin's experiments and recreating his observations. Darwin found those ballooning spiders on the Voyage of the Beagle. And so we've got a dedicated researcher from Uruguay, Nadia, who's kindly recreating some of those experiments and looking. The heart of the world's most exciting classroom, though, is a studio, a Darwin-inspired studio that we're going to launch and experiment every single week. Every single week, you can replicate each new experiment at your home or at your school or your classroom and undertake different experiment projects and see if you get the same results as we do. We've got prizes every week, so we really want you to be part of this. We've got a little video we're going to show you now about what we're up to. So here goes. Welcome to the world's most exciting classroom. My name is Oh, sorry, the bandwidth isn't quite allowing that video. We've basically built a really exciting studio inspired by Darwin, and we're using that as the platform. So if you join next week, we'll beam live from that studio. Yeah, every single week we've got a different experiment that we're creating in partnership with the Darwin Centre, an incredible expert called Jim Costa. These are a range of different subjects, from how earthworms make soil all the way to seeds and why different seeds have methods of floating in the air. And yeah, we've got experiments and prizes every single week as we go around the world. Well, let's take a little walk down the ship. I'll pass back to Joe as you walk.
All right, let me do a quick switch here. So you can see here we are in the harbor. You can see a great view here of some of the ships. You can see some of the historic harbor here. Let's just walk over so you can see some of the buildings here along the ship. You can see there's lots of people walking around enjoying their day. And let's continue a little bit of a walk towards the back of the ship. All right, we'll make our way up. You can see here some nice skylights here that are looking down. We'll take a little trip down into the ship so you can see a little bit of what's going on in here. And as we make our way back, we are going to head towards the controls where the ship's actually going to be steered and run. The wind's picking up a little bit here, so I'm not going to stay here too long. But we'll take this little walk here to the back of the ship so you can see a little bit here. You can see down here into the cabins. And then you can see in here, this will be the control area of the ship. All of this important equipment we need as we're navigating. I wonder if the door is open. Let's check. Yes, absolutely. So just a quick look in here. Some of the gear, the map, GPS, charting gear, communications. You can see all this important gear that we're going to need as the Darwin200, the Oosterschelde, makes its way around the world. Now we're going to go look at the ship a little bit more in a moment, and then we're going to head downstairs and look inside. But before we do, I want to head over. Stu's got a special guest for us, so let me head back down with them. And then please start using this chat sidebar and send in any questions you have, because we're going to switch gears after we go downstairs, and we are going to have a little Q&A session. It'll be great to have your questions, hear what you're thinking about, what you want to know about the Darwin200, the Oosterschelde, anything you want to know about the mission coming up. But here we are with Stu and a special guest.
Yeah. So during the world's most exciting classroom event, we're beaming live to the ship, We're beaming to ports. You can interview the Darwin leaders and ask them questions, and amazing conservationists. But we're also really honoured to have special partners doing different aspects of the projects in different specialty areas. And one of them is our wonderful partner, the Ocean Conservation Trust, from the UK's biggest aquarium, the National Marine Aquarium here in Plymouth. And we're very fortunate to have Becky from the OCT to tell us a little bit about their work and what we can do together.
Yes, thank you so much for that introduction. As Stu said, I am from the Ocean Conservation Trust, and we're based at the National Marine Aquarium here in Plymouth, where this beautiful boat is docked today. And it's just, well, you can't quite see it from there, but just over there. So we're really, really privileged and proud to have you launch from our city, because it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And we have been so inspired by the DARWIN200 project. We work with members of the public and also schools, children every day, because the Ocean Conservation Trust is all about connecting people with the ocean. And what better project to team up with than this one? So we're doing so many different things so that you guys can get involved with this project as well. Stu's already said about the live streams. You're going to do those every week.
Absolutely.
Amazing. We might pop up every now and then,
Yep.
if you'll have us.
Yeah, of course.
And we're also inspired in a few other ways. So we run something called STEM Fest every single year. It's an amazing You're talking about global participation.
Yep.
And we thought, how can we make this more participatory, more people around the world? So for the first year ever, we are having a virtual STEM Fest.
That's great.
It's so exciting, inspired by you guys, because it means that anyone from anywhere in the country and even across the world could join in on October the 4th, and they can virtually attend STEM Fest. And all of the activities are inspired historically by Darwin, his journey on the HMS Beagle, and looking into the future with the journey on this beautiful boat and the amazing conservation work that's going to happen. So if anyone's interested in joining that, love to have you. You can have a look on the Ocean Conservation Trust website, and all the details are under Virtual STEM Fest. But it's not just that. Can I tell you some more stuff? Of course, because schools, we want to get schools involved as well. We've got some of our team on the boat who are going to be offering sessions to come in and get a first-hand look.
Yep.
But we're also working with the community. We're also working with the public. And we are going to be having live sessions streamed into the aquarium. We're going to have Q&A sessions so people can ask questions. They can see what it's like on the boat. And two of our wonderful marine biologists, their names are Isla and Heather, they have been honoured to be Darwin leaders.
Yep, we're taking them.
You're taking them. You're taking them all the way to Fernando in Brazil.
Absolutely.
And they're going to do some wonderful works with a coral project, which is super exciting because we're trying to grow some coral. We're trying to propagate some coral in our aquarium. So we're so excited to have that information brought back.
And one of the sessions, we're going to beam to the aquarium and learn about your coral conservation work.
It's going to be amazing. You're going to come into our science lab. We call it the Ocean Lab, and you're going to see some of the coral propagation that we've been doing so far.
So please think of questions. We hear so much about coral reefs around the world and bleaching. That the Ocean Conservation Trust has pioneered some amazing technology that we're going to see in an upcoming world's most exciting classroom event. So thank you for being our partner. And
thank you for having us. Amazing.
Should we go on a tour of the ship?
Let's see what we can see.
Okay. So we hope this is going to work. The ship has a metal hull. So we tried it yesterday and it did, but you never know. So let's give it a go. So the ship carries 24 passengers and about 8 professional crew. Of that contingent, 4 researchers and camera operators. So we'll be filming and researching every single day of the voyage. When we go downstairs, we'll see what it's like inside. So let's have a little look. So we set this area up here as a small laboratory where the Darwin leaders and the research projects are going to be taken. We've got a whole suite of equipment. We've had to stow it already because the ship set sails in a matter of hours at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. But we've got a suite of 3 microscopes generously donated by BMS Microscopes. We've got all of the research equipment we need. We've got filter systems for the plastic projects. We've got the extensive equipment for surveying the spiders and a whole range of other observation gear and temperature measuring gear and chemical measuring gear. So this is where the Darwin leaders are going to be working and where the research projects are going to be taking place. But on a more personal note, on a daily basis note, this is where the crew and the participants will be eating. The ship, say, has 24 Voyage crew staying in the ship, along with 8 professional crew that manage the ship and run the vessel. It's a major operation to take a 50-meter ship around the world. This ship, as I mentioned earlier, was actually a freight vessel. It carried cargo right until 1988. Many people think the golden age of sail died in the 19th century, but a few sailing ships, a few big schooners survived and continued operating well into the 20th century. So this was originally the hold. This is where the cargo was located. But it's been converted into a beautiful saloon in the dining area. Have a little look down. There's a little library up here, so people can read and do research up here. I have a little chill out space to read.
Let's Stu, hop up there because there's a shot of what the ship looked like before it was restored.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a really, I mean, we won't even recognize the ship when you take a look at it.
Absolutely, please.
So this was the ship before it was restored. And as you can tell from when we were up on the deck and we saw the sails and the rigging, and they've done an incredible job restoring this ship.
It's the largest historic vessel restored in the Netherlands. It's a Dutch ship. Our project is a global project, so we're involving countries and partners from right the way around the world. And so we're really honored to be working. She really is one of the most beautiful historic vessels afloat. So yeah, this is the little library / reading area, so people can have a read up here. And then back down again. So this is the eating area, but we've got a beautiful piano over here, so people can enjoy the evenings.
Don't ask me to play it.
Because some of the voyage legs are 6 weeks long. So people need a bit of time to relax and get away from the day-to-day operations of the ship. And this is very important for morale on particularly the longer voyage legs. We're across the Southern Ocean. So we've got a piano over here. We've got a wood-fired stove. So we're going to beam live from South Georgia and from Chilean fjords with glaciers and icebergs at South Georgia. And so we're going to fire up the wood-fired stoves so the ship stays nice and warm. So you can imagine how romantic and the atmosphere that's going to be amongst the glaciers of Tierra del Fuego and the Chilean fjords. Yeah. Over here there is a little bar for the sailors. I'm sure you know the song, What Should We Do with a Drunken Sailor? Well, we're going to find out. So we've got a little bar going on over here. And yeah, that's pretty much the interior of the ship. The accommodation is rooms down underneath and at the back. They're 2 bunk and 4 bunk berths. Oh, yeah, that's a watertight door down there for safety. Yeah, so the people sleep in 2 bunk berths, so rooms with 2 beds in, of bunk beds, or 4 bunks in some rooms. So it's a nice accommodation. It's got beautiful beds, and some of them are en suite. This is very different to Charles Darwin's journey on the Beagle. Darwin's vessel was about half the length of the Oosterschelde, this vessel we're in today, and it had over 3 times as many men. So to be fair, it did have 2 levels, but people had to sleep literally in hammocks. It was rammed full during the day, so it was very, very cramped conditions and very intense. So that's a little overview of inside our ship.
All right. Well, Stu, what do you say? Let's head back up on deck and let's take some Q&A.
Absolutely. That's a great idea.
All right.
Okay.
So as you're tuning in, I can see we have lots of people tuning in right now. Use that chat sidebar and send in your questions for us, because we would love to get a chance to answer all of your questions. We'll make our way up the stairs here. All right, back on deck, back in beautiful, sunny Plymouth Harbour in the UK. It was cloudy this morning, but you can see that things have cleared up nicely now. And then I just can't get enough of this view. Here's some of the crew coming by. Hi, guys. And this view of these amazing masts. And if you remember that picture we saw of the freighter and how different the Oosterschelde looked compared to the beautiful restoration that has been done now today. So yeah, let's work your questions in. We're looking forward to taking some questions that you might have about the journey, about the boat, about the science that's going to take place. We're so excited for the world's most exciting classroom. So every week, in fact, just this morning, we were testing the satellite units. We have 2 units from Starlink. We have one called a maritime unit, and that's going to allow us to video broadcast from pretty much anywhere on the ocean. We'll be able to beam live into the ship and beam live into classrooms around the world. And then we have another unit, it's called a roam unit. And what that's going to allow us to do is head out on land, and we can broadcast from the rainforest, the desert, from mountains, you name it. We can beam live into classrooms while we're visiting many of the places that Charles Darwin visited over his 5-year journey on the Beagle. So the world's most exciting classroom, we are going to have Darwin-themed experiments each week, filmed in the beautiful studio that you saw a little bit of the clip of, but unfortunately the bandwidth on the ship is just not strong enough to play the video right now, but I will edit it into the recording, so you'll get to see a nice little sneak peek of the studio. We are going to beam in scientists, explorers, conservationists from all over the world. And sometimes we'll join them in their lab, in their home, in their office. Other times we'll join sea turtle projects on the beach and see baby sea turtles being released into the ocean. Or maybe we'll head into the world's largest captive rainforest at Eden Project in Cornwall. So we're going to bring some amazing sights live into classrooms. And then, of course, we're going to take your classroom questions. We can't wait to have those questions. So let's switch gears now and let's go into a little Q&A action. And the very first question we have here is about the crew. So will the crew be on for the entire 2 years, or do they have to switch off? How's that going to work?
That's a really good question. They actually have to swap. As mentioned, Darwin's journey was 5 years, ours is 2. But even 2, they legally you have to swap the crew over, I believe, every 12 weeks. So yeah, they have to have a bit of a rest, have to have a bit of a break. So we continually rotate them, we continually swap them. And that's also true with the researchers and the Darwin200 staff on the ship. Yeah, you need a little bit of a break away from the ship and to come back then fresh for the next part.
All right. Well, as we wait for a couple more questions to come in, and don't be shy, those who are tuning in, to send in those questions. Stu, we have 3 amazing women who are going to be joining us throughout the journey, sharing their insights, their stories. They've traveled the world. They've seen so much of our planet and what we're doing to it. Why don't you talk a little bit about the amazing ambassadors we're going to have along the way?
Absolutely. So we're honoured beyond words to have the incredible Dr. Jane Goodall as our project patron, the equally incredible Dr. Sylvia Earle, also as a project patron, and Dr. Sarah Darwin, who's a key supporter. She's a great-great-granddaughter of Charles Darwin himself. However, she is a very accomplished naturalist in her own right, did an amazing PhD in plant life in the Galapagos, and yeah, is very famous for her work in natural history, as well as her great ancestor. So we're honoured beyond words to have all 3 of these extraordinary female leaders in natural history and conservation as part of our project. And you'll meet them, you can ask questions, you can engage directly with them. So please, please, please take part of the world's most exciting classroom.
All right. So Stu, tell us a little bit about, people tuning in. This is a new project to some.
Yep.
Where did this come from? Where did this idea come from, and how long did it take to get to this?
Okay, so the idea of this global voyage following Charles Darwin's journey, it's been about 10 years in the making. It's been about 4 years serious work. So in 2020, during COVID, we took a different ship. And you might remember, we've been live with Exploring by the City of Plants from several locations around the UK. Because it was COVID, we couldn't cross international boundaries, so it was around the UK. It was a different ship called Pelican, and we had a wonderful expedition going to remote places. Some of you might have joined for when we beamed live from Bass Rock, the world's biggest colony of northern gannets. We beamed live from many other interesting locations around the British Isles. Those were test voyages. It's really complicated running a project like this from a historic tour ship. It's not as simple as you might imagine. So we had to run 2 test voyages in 2020 and 2021 before undertaking this massive 2-year undertaking. And again, that starts literally tomorrow at 8 a.m. in the morning. This ship sets sail and out into the big blue yonder on the ocean, out following Darwin's journey.
All right. And then let's ask, so last night we had a beautiful launch party at the aquarium. We got to hear about the expedition, meet some of kind of the instrumental people behind the expedition. But, tell us a little bit more about the aquarium and what you can see if you come down and visit.
Oh, absolutely. So the National Marine Aquarium is a fantastic aquarium. It's a flagship building that really helps connect people to the animals that live in the ocean in an effort to connect people with them so that they understand all the wonderful things that live there. And we have the most amazing collection. We've got some fantastic animals that you would find all around the world. So we've got a whole exhibit dedicated to the animals that are found just over here in Plymouth Sound. It's one of my favourite exhibits because all of those animals you can see if you go rock crawling along our shores in the southwest. So it's just so accessible. But we travel further and we've got animals that you'd find in the American side of the Atlantic Ocean. So we've got some amazing sand tiger sharks. Really? They are 12 feet long, give or take. So that's like 2 of me and then some more. They're huge, they're so graceful, they're just beautiful. In that tank, we've also got everyone's favourite Friday. He's a green turtle, and he is the most mischievous turtle in the entire world. If you've ever visited the aquarium, you've absolutely heard the stories. Friday loves to steal the food from the other animals. He's a little bit of an attention seeker. And when the divers go in the tank, Friday likes to say hello. Hasn't got hands. Can't do a handshake.
No.
Can't say hello formally. Friday likes to say hello with his mouth.
Really?
Give him a little bite.
Really?
On their bottom.
Really?
He's a bottom biter.
Wow.
He is a mischievous turtle, but we love him very much anyway.
Oh, yeah. How old is he?
So we're not entirely sure. So he was a rescue turtle. He's come to us from a different aquarium, but we think he's mid-30s. Yeah, so he's old enough to know better.
Yep.
But too old to change.
How old would the turtle be?
So for a green turtle, probably about 70 years or so. So he's got a long way to go. Yeah, and he is king of that tank, so he's settled himself in. Yeah.
We're going to be beaming from Fernando Noronha and Ascension Island, focusing on green turtles. So that would be a perfect link up. Yeah. We could link up and document in the wild and then document your wonderful one there.
Absolutely, amazing. Yeah, super. Yeah, I love it. So yeah, we've got lots and lots of wonderful creatures there. Definitely worth coming to visit and seeing what we've got. Yeah.
All right. So Sue, we touched on it briefly at the beginning, but let's talk a little bit more about the Darwin leaders and what that means and the fact that people can still apply right now.
Absolutely. So what we're doing is over the next 2 years, we're selecting the very best young conservationists, one from each of 200 countries and states around the world. We're selecting these incredible young people. They've got to be 18 and above. The upper limit's flexible, but we're trying to find ones roughly 18 to 25. And we're bringing them to the ports where Darwin made landfall. What they have to do is select an animal or a plant that Charles Darwin studied, of which there are literally thousands. They have to do 3 objectives. The first one is they've got to... sorry, it's a little bit of a traffic. Okay. The first objective is they've got to work with local conservation partners and look at what's happened to the population of that animal or plant in question. Has it gone up? Has it gone down? And the reasons why. What's happened and why. The second objective is they've got to then look at the current conservation work that's being undertaken to safeguard that animal or plant. And is it working? Is it enough to safeguard it for the future? And again, if not, why? What's working and what's not? And the last element, the most important bit, they've got to get out there, use their brains, and really think about new solutions and new problems. They might have to do research. They might have to do investigations, interviews. They've got to get out there, start looking at problems and new solutions, how we can make the world better for their chosen animal or plant. For each of those 3 objectives, they've got to make a film, a photo essay, and a written report. So 3 of each of them for the 3 objectives. We've recruited professional camera operators that will be filming with them in each of the key locations around the world. So we've got to film every single day, non-stop for 2 years, roughly 600 in total, every day as the ship goes around the world. So we're beaming these out on our social media channels for you to be part of and watch. Every single World's Most Exciting Classroom event will have different leaders for you to talk to. You might be interested in one of their projects, so you can ask them questions, what it was actually like doing this out in the real world. So we really hope that'll be an interesting component of our program and a way to engage with some of the most exciting conservation projects literally on the planet.
All right. So since we are on a ship and there's lots of people moving around, I wanted to snag a few people just to say hi to. So we've got Tom and Rodri, who a lot of the time are going to be behind the camera, so we're not going to get to see them a lot. We have a chance to put them on the spot and snag them right now. So we've got Tom, we've got Rodri. How you guys doing?
All good, all good. Excited to get going.
All right, so this is our first kind of broadcast from the ship. I would love if you could talk just a tiny bit about what kind of preparation it took to get, what kind of camera gear you've got, what you're taking along to document this journey.
Oh wow, it's been a lot of work over the last few months, ordering things and getting it all packed and ready. we've got drones, we've got cameras with long lenses, underwater cameras, all sorts of kit. So ready to capture everything really.
Yeah, and what are you expecting on this journey?
I mean, amazing wildlife, amazing stories about people from all over the world and the conservation efforts, and then there's also the like unexpected stuff that we'll encounter along the way, and the new stories we'll get to capture and film and tell. So yeah. Yeah.
And so you're going to get to experience a lot of their journey. I think you're 3 months on and then a month off, then 3 months on. You'll kind of cycle that way.
Yeah, I think that's how we're going to do it, yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, thanks for letting us put you on the spot. I know you're going to be behind the camera, but I couldn't resist the opportunity to grab you and put you in front of the camera for a few moments. Thanks so much, guys.
No problem. See you later.
All right, cool. So Stu, the captain just went by. We'll see if we can snag him when he comes by again. I checked and he was on the phone, so we'll see if we can get him. But I do want to take this moment just to talk about, we've got a really special flag on board.
We do. Do you want me to hold the camera? You
sure.
Get the flag. Here we go.
Okay, so they've got it tucked away, so I don't know if I can get my hands on it yet, but maybe before the end of our broadcast today. But the Explorers Club in New York is an amazing organization. Explorers and scientists from around the world have been members of the club since the early 1900s. In fact, some of the most famous firsts around the world. So first to the moon, first to both poles, first to Everest, first to the deepest point of the ocean, were all members of the Explorers Club. And they have these amazing flags. And these flags are sent on expeditions all over the world and then returned and then sent on other expeditions. So all of these flags have an amazing, rich history. And the Darwin 200 was awarded Flag 101. This flag has been traveling around the world since the 1940s. It has been to all the continents. It has been to the top of Everest. In fact, the last expedition it was on was the space station. So the flag just returned from space, and now it's going to spend 2 years on the Darwin 200. As you can imagine, it's a very delicate flag. So we can't fly it from the ship for the entire expedition, but we're going to raise it at certain parts. We've already had it up here in Plymouth, flying for a little bit. We'll probably put it up again in the Galapagos, and then maybe again in our return in July 2 years from now at the end in 2025. So that's hopefully something we'll get to show off in some of the future calls. We're going to take it out in different spots and show off the flag. But if you haven't explored the Explorers Club before, take a look, learn a little bit about the history, and it really is exciting to be able to carry this kind of historic flag that's been with explorers all over the world for over 80 years now. To have it on the Darwin 200 is pretty exciting.
Perfect.
All right. Here, let's switch off. Let's hand off here.
Well, I'll just tell you about one last element that we're going to be doing. So in a few months' time, in November, we're going to be beaming live from the Atlantic rainforests of Brazil. We've got some very, very special projects taking place there. We're planting about 5,000 trees in a week. And every single night during that week, we're going to give you updates how it's gone, how many we've planted, and what's going on at the centre where we're planting them. We're also doing biodiversity transects, and each night we'll have an edited film ready from the day's work, showing you exactly what we've discovered. We're doing these biodiversity transects in primary rainforest, secondary rainforest, which means forest that's been logged, and really degraded rainforest. We're going to look how the numbers of species changes between those forest types. And then we're also, on the other side of things, going to be looking at forest that's been replanted 10 years ago, 20 or 30 years ago, then 50 or so years more. So it should hopefully show a really interesting curve of the decline of species as you cut forest, but hopefully the recovery as well on the other side, which will quantify and show how important it is to plant trees. At that centre, during that week, it's during the first week of November, we're going to be showing you some really exciting work there with golden line tamarins, which are incredibly cute little primates that went to the very verge of extinction. And you'll be able to have a chance to talk to the team that conserve them and protect them in the wild, which is an incredibly important project. And that's just one of literally hundreds of projects that we're going to be doing live over the next 2 weeks, 2 years rather. So we really hope you'll enjoy them and be part of them.
All right, well, let's take one more look here at beautiful Plymouth Harbour in the United Kingdom. The sun has come out. It was a bit rainy this morning, but it is a beautiful day now. And tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. UK time, the Oosterschelde is going to set sail and begin an amazing journey, heading first to Tenerife in the Canary Islands, where we'll have our first Darwin 200 leaders come aboard. We'll do broadcasts along the way. It is going to be an absolute ton of fun. In fact, just before we wrap up, we're going to wrap up shortly. If anybody tuning in is joining on the legs, so the first passengers who are joining on the first leg will be joining today at 5 p.m. So if you're tuning in and you are going to be joining one of the legs, the 32 legs of the Darwin 200, send us a quick message and just say hi and let us know which leg you're on. All right. Well, Stu, it's been a whirlwind the last couple of days. There's been tons of press on board, tons of gear being stored. The crew has been working so hard to get everything stowed and underway. And I'm just wondering, you know, this has been, you and I have known each other for years now, pre-COVID, talking about this expedition. We did broadcasts together on the 2 kind of test voyages around the UK. What are you thinking right now, the eve before sailing? I mean,
honestly, this has been years of work to undertake. It really has been a massive project. It was only possible by hundreds of incredibly kind people and organisations that have all come together and made this happen. We really genuinely hope this will engage global audiences and help inspire the next generation, the next wave of conservationists. We've got 5 incredible projects in the Canary Islands that start in exactly 14 days when the ship gets there. So join our first World's Most Exciting Classroom from the studio next week, which we'll beam out to you shortly. And then the one after that will actually be in the Canary Islands. You'll meet the Darwin leaders, hear about their projects. We'll beam from volcanoes to dragon trees and a whole range of other subjects. And that's just the first of 32 ports. Every single port we're going to be doing this in every couple of weeks. So yeah, we should have a lot of very exciting content, and we really, really want you to be part. And we've got some pretty cool competitions with pretty generous prizes as well. So we hope that will keep people excited and doing the experiments and competitions that we've got organised. So we thank each and every one of you for joining today in this little overview, and we hope we'll
all right. Sorry we lost you for a moment there, but that's part of the excitement of broadcasting live from a ship and using connectivity. Right now we are using 4G connectivity in Plymouth Harbour, but we will be relying on satellite connections while we're on the ocean, while we're beaming out from places around the world. So thank you so much to everybody who tuned in today. In fact, there's one more question that just squeaked in here that I think is really important to get in here. And in fact, it looks like a few questions loaded up when we reloaded the event here. So Stu, why don't we get through a few of these questions here?
Well, quite a few.
Oh yeah, good. So every week YouTube live, yeah. So the Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants YouTube channel, is where they're going to be broadcast live to. We can share that out in the next post out. And so every event will be recorded. So if you don't make it live, you can tune in live to the questions there.
Yeah. We'll also have a one-page PDF explaining each experiment and a little video which you can watch if you don't make the event. So even if you don't make the event, take part in the competitions and then join the next event and find out if you've won. Again, prizes with every single one of them. So there's some pretty cool things that we'll be giving away, and prizes on Amazon vouchers as well. Yeah. So yeah,
a great question here from Sonia. Is there an itinerary that we can access and follow? We will post an itinerary. We will have a set time as well for the world's most exciting classrooms, for classrooms in North America and the UK. But we'll also have other times for classrooms in different places around the world. And we know that classes in the UK, Canada, and the US don't really get back into action until September. But we do want to get these first few events under our belt, and then something that you can tune into the recordings with your students when they do return.
There's an interesting question there. Will we be eating the authentic food that Darwin ate? Well, guess what? We're going to be cooking it. We want you to make ship's biscuits. We can do this actually in a couple of weeks' time if you'd like to. They're quite easy to do. So not only will we be eating it, but you can as well. We'll do a cookery session live, and you can make your own ship biscuits. I have to warn you in advance, though, they're not the nicest of food. They're a bit tough. They're a bit tough to eat. So make them yourselves, as we'll give you the instructions, and you tell us whether you like them. So we look forward to doing that in a few weeks.
So great question here. A new website just launched, and there's a beautiful new tracking map by 060. You can check out right now where we're sitting in Plymouth, and then follow along the whole way throughout the voyage in real time.
And the data, all of the data and research project feeds go on there. There's a weekly photograph that goes live to the ship every single week, non-stop. So the map on the Darwin200 website is a really cool resource. You can see exactly where the ship's at and what it's doing.
Yep. There'll also be pictures. We can upload pictures and video right to WhatsApp, and it'll go right on the map in real time. Yep. So if we see whales or something really cool along the way, we're going to upload some of those photos.
Absolutely.
Kim, great question. Will there be some follow-up and worksheets for classrooms? We're going to launch something called Story Map soon. Special kind of curriculum interactive pieces for each of the 32 legs, where we'll look at what it was like for Darwin when he visited. We'll look at what it's like now, conservation challenges, the natural history of the places we're visiting, and then the experiments.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
There'll be PDFs with each experiment, so you can follow along and replicate those Darwin experiments in your classroom.
And we've built an incredible team to design these experiments so that anyone and everyone can do them from home or from the classroom. There are things such as how earthworms create soil, or how seeds float in the air, and the different techniques plants have evolved for actually having seeds that distribute in the air. And literally 100 other subjects like that. And again, each one has a prize or multiple prizes connected to it. So you can do it at home, send in your photos or your results sheets, and win amazing prizes.
All right. And so this question's come up a few times. Will they be recorded? Absolutely. Every single event will be recorded. They'll be on Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants YouTube channel. And I bet we'll upload them as well to the Darwin200 YouTube channel, the live events. And then, I'm really glad that we lost the signal for a minute there, because it let all the comments reload. So we were able to catch up and answer some of those questions that weren't loading before.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, Stu, I think it's time that we let our audience go. It's been an absolute blast to see the ship, maybe meet a few members of the crew. And wow, tomorrow morning is going to be pretty exciting.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. And we thoroughly look forward to our first real event next week. We'll have an experiment ready for you, lecture, and lots of activities. So we'll be posting the details shortly. Please join us and be part of the world's most exciting classroom.